I don't know if you can see my screen. Currently on my Postgres interface. Um, right now. Okay. So normally, if I want to work with Postgres, so I have several databases here. Don't be too confused. Yours, you just like opened your PG admin not too long ago and just created one database. So I actually have a lot of databases in mind. So let's not confuse you or make you like, oh, what's going on? Why is mine different from yours? It's just because I've just created several databases, which I can also easily drop or delete. So this is where, and also mine might be different from yours in the sense that I changed mine to dark mode. I changed the mine, but I think I should change it. I should reset the layout. You should do it. Or I should reset the. I don't know if it's going to be a bit confusing to everyone if I what's it called if I go on with this kind of distance. So I'll just change my preferences. Apologies. I change my display settings where it's around. Um, Give me a sec. I think it's around. It should be around the theme. Yes, I'm changing it to light theme so that everybody does not look so unfamiliar. So yeah. So if I want to write a query, I will create my query tool. So I don't know. Before I even talk about this, I just wanted to show you something, or I just want to show us something. So to create a query tool, I think we quite know how to do that. You right click on your database. Right click on the database you're interested in. So I have a database called Egosa, that's my name. And I right clicked on it and I click query tool, and I'm able to create a query tool directly. But there's a question here, actually, before we even start writing anything here. What if let's say I start writing queries and whatever on this query tool, and I realize that when I run the queries, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I'm going to show you something. Oh, I don't show you this. But when I run the queries, let's say we haven't really gotten to SQL queries yet. So this is going to be a bit confusing. Let's say I say select all from film. So let's not look at what I'm writing here. Um, but if I say select all from film, what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to the query I'm trying to execute, like the table I'm trying to execute a query from, is not on this database, I will receive an error. So do you know that the query tool, if you go all the way here on your in your system towards the upper part of your query, you see, okay, this you see Egosa slash the user, which is Postgres and Postgres SQL 16. That's my version, right? What you're saying here is that, okay, this is a query tool. What we're writing here, the queries we're trying to execute is connected to a database called Egosa. Do you know that you can easily change the connection? So if I click on this thing, new connection, I click on new connection, you can see the server is Postgres 16. That's what you're seeing there. The database is Postgres, the user is Postgres. So user server, Postgres 16. And you can see currently I could change the database. So database is not necessarily, it shouldn't be Postgres. I think there was an error somewhere, but the database is a Gosa. So forget that I'm showing Postgres here. This is the default this thing it normally shows. Database is actually a Gosa. Exactly, Gosa. So if I wanted to change this to something else, I could just right click on this and press save. And it tells me whatever I've lost, there's nothing written there. So now, yeah, it changes. So you can see it changed now from Egosa to push M test, for example. So that's one thing we need to note in terms of um, working with our query tool. Very important, because like you might just click randomly, and let's say I create a query tool on this database for this database, and you see it's linked to accounts. But imagine I wanted to query a data or a table or something. I want to query data from a Gosa database. Unfortunately, because the query tool I created is linked to accounts, you won't be able to see this. So I think as we go on with this with SQL, I will show us a practical example, because I don't want to write something that will confuse us or something like that. So I don't want to give us this idea right now. So yes, so back to us showing looking at the what's it called the PSQL, the shell. So what I'm going to do normally, let me drop a database, for example, drop database, and I will drop this database called Matri, for example. I mean, it's very easy to do it here. And I select the query and I run it. Somehow this is taking a bit of time. Other session using database. So what I'll do, excuse me, let's write it here. Drop database matrix. I think I put on my PSQL. Cannot, okay, I don't know what's going on here. But that's kind of like the logic. I think I will need to restart my Postgres, my PG admin. I think I'm having some issues on my end. But usually if you want to drop a database, that's how we go about it. But the main thing I really wanted to show us, so give me a second on this. The main thing I wanted to show us is the PSQL tool. So I think I can still show us regardless before I restart my PG admin. So I'll just I don't know if you're seeing my system I'm trying to search. I'll just type SQL shell and you can kind of see what I'm looking at. So what I'm looking for now is this. This is like the SQL shell. So it's very unfamiliar to us. It's very it's just plain. But there are benefits to this. I mean, for a database administrator, this will be very helpful for someone who works with scripting, who works with some kind of automation in terms of writing some kind of queries, some queries to the database. So whatever you see here, if you try type your SPSQL, you also see this, or you can just press enter. You can pressing enter until you see your password. So username Postgres is right. Like your server is localhost. The database is Postgres, so you don't need to write Postgres again. Your port is 5432, your default port, and username is post, so you don't need to write anything there again until you see your password. So I type my password, and now I have access to the shell, the Postgres shell, the PSQL shell. And I'll just show you basic drop-in database and whatever through here. Like I'm not showing us specifically this to try to confuse us or try to teach us through the PSQL shell, but I just want to show you how it kind of works. So when it comes to writing on the command line of the PSQL shell, there are several things that yeah, there are like several letters and things like that you need to get yourself familiar with. But for the sake of the fact that I might not know this, I'll just type dash L. Dash L will show me all the sessions I have. So dash L shows me different things going on. These are the names of databases. This is the owner. This is the encoding. You could also try to look at when you create database. You could also try to look for the encoding sometimes. In the encoding, the several things going on about database where it's list of database, C type, some things that you should not really be interested in. The thing you should be interested in is here. So you can actually see like all the directories of your database through here, and I know how it looks. It looks quite confusing. It looks quite confusing. So like everything is just letters, some kind of olden days looking coding interface or something. But this is how the shell usually looks like. So let me actually try dropping a database from here. Let's say I want to drop the matrix database. Drop database. And try from here. Matrix. And let me close it with what's it called? Is it I forgot the name of this, but it's not yeah, semicolon. So if I press enter, it should run database. I think I have several sessions open, so I think I might have to reset it because it tells me the same thing it told me before. I may really have to just restart my Postgres. There are other sessions using the database. I might need to let me cancel my query tools and don't save and try it again. If not, I'll just have to restart my database. So let me refresh this. And let me try it again. If not, I'm gonna have to restart my Postgres. But so far so good. I hope I'm not trying to confuse us, but I'm just trying to tell us that um, there are other ways, just that is maybe a bit of a higher level way, like a bit of like when I say higher level, a bit more confusing or not that straightforward. If there are still other sessions, I really need to restart my PG admin before this. I didn't account for this two other sessions using database. So for this, I'll just quickly um close my PG admin and open it back. So I'll just quit the application just to avoid something like this. So I'm going to open it again. But I hope the concept I'm trying to, or we're just following it just a bit, even if it's a tiny bit, we're kind of getting what I'm trying to explain. Yes. Okay. So yeah, this the server is connected, everything's connected. And let me actually see something. I don't think there should be any session right now on there should be any process. I don't think there's anything going on right now. And so let's probably try it again. Let's probably try it again. Postgres is a database client. Okay. Let's just quickly try it again and let's see what happens. So SQL shell, SQL shell. Enter, 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 enter my password. So /d/l just I don't know if you're used to working with Linux. I think something L gives you the list of directories. I think it should work better now. Should work better now. Okay, so let me try to drop database again. Drop database, Matri. Yes. So we can confirm this is a bit confusing, but yeah, let me confirm that this database has been dropped. So drop database Matri didn't tell me any other sessions were held. And before I said /L to show us all the databases that we have currently. And Matthew is here. So let's try /L again this time. So I check all the way. Matthew was around where? After accounts. Let's see if there's a Matthew after accounts. Matthew after accounts. There's account and accounts, and there's Matthew. So Matthew doesn't exist anymore. So I could also create database from here. So I can just say create database. Let me call the database, what should I call database now? Let's call it Nigeria. Nigeria. So the thing about this is that I'm just saying what I wrote, database. Apologies, that's database. So I'll make sure to give a space before I put this semicolon. And let's run it, create database. So database has been created. You can't really see it until you try to maybe look at what's going on in your directories again. So I'll put slash. That's backward. Is this forward or backward? /L. Then let's see whether Nigeria. So Nigeria has been created. So this is basically the same thing. I know it took longer because there were some things that I just needed to restart my pgadmin. But I hope we are able to see that. Okay, this is just create database and drop database. But we could, if we were very advanced, like very, very advanced, decide to, and this might be a bit more beneficial, just depending on what kind of guy you are in tech. Like, are you a database administrator? Like, what do you need to do? Do you need more control? The things that like working with the shell, whether it could be your Windows command line shell, like your PowerShell or whatever, or your Linux shell, if you're a Linux user, usually gives you a lot of control in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. Yes, so I would say that that's a major benefit of why in some places you might see people working on this shell. So I went to line one time. I think it was a Reddit group, and it was a data engineering Reddit group. So I'm not a data engineer, but I saw some comments about data engineers who use the PDF for data engineers working with Postgres that use the Graph GUI, and they were like insulting them, saying they don't know what they're doing and things like that. And me as a data analyst guy, I'm like, I don't know too much about this. I'm not that great in this in terms of like how a data engineer works, but I probably believe I probably believe like the people insulted these people like are saying, oh, people that work with the graphical user interface, whatever, I don't know what they're doing. They just have a bunch of analysts thinking they can become data engineers and just having a bare minimum and not being trained well and using GUI. What the hell is that? That's BS. And I know this is just me, just my thought. I was like, that's probably true. That's probably true because at some level, when you get to a higher level of all of this, I know we're just starting out and everything. When you get to a higher level, higher level, you probably graduate possibly um, from using a GUI. So I just wanted to assure us this. I hope, please, can anybody respond? I hope this hasn't been Discouraging, confusing, or how has it been? Papa Charles, can I ask you that? Anybody like what do you think? Do you prefer the PG admin now? Do you appreciate it a bit more, seeing looking
And
at this
SQL
interface?
shell, it's kind of different. It's kind of different. Even the interface, this one is just for my PG admin is just white, everything and all that. And I don't know how to what to say about it. But then I guess with time I will get
Yeah, with time you get the
and
PG admin
learn.
is what we're gonna be using. But you
But sir,
appreciate,
hello sir.
yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. So basically,
I can hear you.
what this SQL shell? That's what you call this one with that
Yes,
timber
the PSQL. Yes, the PSQL.
is happening on the SQL shell. What you do on the SQL shell, you can also do on PG admin.
Yes, not exactly everything, but like in terms of writing queries, on the PG admin, you create a query tool where you write queries and the queries are executed. Yeah, so the queries we're writing here is almost like writing it on the query tool in a way, because it's the same query you write here and it works the same way. But now the major difference is that the others, like the drag and drop, the click and is it drag and drop, the click, all the clicking abilities, like you can click on the server and see what's going on in the server. Because like if you click on the server, you see your databases. You can click on a database. Let me just go. Let me just leave here. So this is my servers, right? I click on my server. I see Postgres 16. Okay, that's the server I am in. Okay, right? That's the server that's here. So if I click on the
Okay.
server Postgres 16, I have 11 databases here. So I'm very interested just in the database, right? We're not trying to give admin privileges or anything. That's not really what the aim. But you can see my database now. For example, a Gosa database. If I click on it, it's now on. It's now activated, and okay, I can see several things going on here. And as a data analyst, or you are not really interested in most of this. It's not as if you're not really interested in them, but the one that directly affects you. Because like if you go back to our lectures, we kind of broke down the databases into what's it called, the schema, like we broke down the structure of the database, that okay, we explained what they are, of course, and we also said okay, in SQL, like when we're working with SQL, like what we should know about databases is that in databases we have tables, but these tables are in kind of like folder like structures, yeah, called schemas. So this was what we talked about. It's okay, a database, we have our schemas, they're like folders where our tables are kept. Yeah, so that's why when I say when we come all the way here, we're not interested in most of these things here. We're interested in our schemas. So in mine, I'm open the schema. There's several things here too. We're not interested in all these several
Okay.
things here. We're interested in the tables. So in mine, I've already preloaded some tables. I think we'll be able to do this together. I think I sent a link, the drive link, but I'll probably send it again to this what's it called, to our chat. But I will just go to the group chat and send it again. Or if you go to the group chat, they might see it. But I'll just send the link again where we'll manually insert the database, or we manually insert several tables uh into a database. Not really manually, it's with several things, then we can be able to start a new topic for today. But I'm just trying to, but I hope I'm not really confusing us. What are we getting? What we have been talking about? Like, are we getting a difference between like using something like Postgres now versus trying to use the shell? Or like, are we kind of seeing the benefits and ease of using the PG admin shell or PG admin GUI? Or let's say IDE. I won't call it IDE. IDE is integrated development environment. We just call it GUI. Yeah. So any questions so far? So even that PSQL stuff I showed us just now, we could also access it here. So through just this data, this object explorer. So all these things now, this one here, this one here, this one here. Yeah, interesting things. But the PSQL tool, we can also access it through here. But we're not really going to be using this. So it looks a bit different-ish. So let's see. Let me say D. Let me see my structure of slash D gives me the structure of whatever database I'm in. And if you see this here, this place here is written like what's here is written Egosa. So like I clicked on Egosa and I clicked on the PSQL tool. So basically it's like the directory I'm in. I know this is some not really this is information we don't really need to know. But like it's showing me, okay, in my schemas, these are the tables. These are the tables I have in my schema. So you can confirm by going all the way here, going to schemas. So it's just like an alternative, like when we get advanced. But I just want to really us to know that something like this exists. So if you compare actor, actor, actor ID sequence, actor ID, I don't think we have actor ID there. So that's a sequence, not a table. Sequence, not a table. So if you look at the tables, actor, the view, okay, that's but let's just look at the table, address, brewery table, brewery. So yeah, some I think some views. I created some views and they were saved. But that's by the wayside. I think so far so good. I've been able to achieve. Like I just really wanted us to know that this alternative exists. There's a difference so that if we're asked somewhere, we're able to okay, we know about this and we know why we're using PG admin tool instead of the shell, the SQL shell. So any issues so far? Okay. So far so good. I think I can continue a bit. Or I
Excuse
can
me.
continue from. Go ahead, please.
There are questions on the chat and I don't see you answering them. Kindly look at the chat.
The charts. Okay, the charts. Okay, sorry. Let me just change the way I share my screen. Give me a sec. Okay. What's the difference between a database? I'm saying, okay. Hello, please. Let me look at the first one. What's the difference between the black screen and using PG admin? So there's a big difference. There's a big difference. So the black screen that you see there is the command line tool or command line interface. As a data analyst or even a data scientist, depend it's more preferred for us right now to use the PG admin. Why? It's easier to use. It's less stressful. You can click on things and see what's going on. You can try to like is like you can easily like now where I went the first thing I tried to show us that was that like the query tool we create we can easily change where it's referenced to in terms of the database. I kind of showed us that although we might not really understand it so much just from that example, I think later I will show you another example of that. But it makes everything the major thing is that it makes everything easier. Makes everything easier. It's very user friendly. You can easily edit your queries, and yeah, it's a very good tool for an data analysis. While the other black screen that you saw there is for advanced, if you're very advanced, yeah, or you're a database administrator, you're probably a developer, a Power App user, or a Power user, something like that. You need the PG admin SQL shell, the Postgres SQL shell. That's what you need in that case. So the difference between a database and a schema. So of course we defined it before, but let's mention it. So a schema now is not a database. So a database is like imagine you had what's it called now? Imagine you had how to explain it, like something like a safe where you keep things. But inside that safe, you have racks, like mini racks in the safe, right? A database now is seen as like that safe where you keep the things. Why the schema is the mini racks and maybe let's say I don't know who does that, but maybe are keeping money. Let's say books in the racks. Okay, we have several different colors of racks and we're keeping we'll keep some books in the red one, in the yellow one, in the blue one, or whatever, or maybe money, or let's say books. So this the racks that like compartmentalize or kind of like arrange the books or several books together because of course a rack can be filled, then you go to another place on that rack like add books there. The racks, let's say yeah, racks there are the schemas like folders. So I don't know if you can see this diagram here. This diagram here, I think, explain it. So database can have multiple schemas. Schemas define like the structure and groups of tables that are related. So schema, you can see the diagram here. It looks like a folder. I don't know, like on your computer, like on your system, if you want to, you see a folder, they open a folder. You can see maybe your movies, maybe your documents, maybe your slides and whatever in your system. So Postgres gives us the ability to be able to create databases. In databases, you see you have structures of schema structures, and you can add tables and everything inside. So any other, let me check if there's any other question. Any other question? Okay, I don't think there's any other question so far, so good.
Personally, I've not understood the difference between a PGD admin and whatever you are showing. Is it the SQL shell?
SQL shell. Yes. So like, okay, if you try it on your system, try type shell. With that shell, like you can only type things inside. You can't click on anything and anything will happen. Just type things and press enter. Type things and press enter. Type things and press enter. Like
You are
I
typing
don't.
on the SQL.
Yes, we're typing on the SQL shell on the PG admin too. But like I don't know if the first time I opened my PG admin not too long ago, it was in dark mode. I can easily customize my this thing there. I can easily see what is going on in my I can easily see what's going on in my what's it called, in my database, my, like, it's maybe I think I share my screen differently again. Let me go to my picture admin. So no matter what I do, if this place like this page admin right now, right? If I wanted to, this thing that I see me doing all the way here, yeah, I'm moving up and down, I'm just clicking on things are opening. It's way different in terms of the SQL shell. I can't I can't just, click on server, see what's going on. I can't, okay, just click open query tool, it opens a new tab. I can literally open query tools for all the databases here. For all the databases here, I can try to open query tools for all of them, all the ones that are filled. So which one is filled? I can open query tool for this. Like I can import, I can open a file, I can look for an SQL file and bring it in. So many interesting things. Unfortunately, I can't do this with the, like, I can't work in this way. Yeah, for the SQL shell. It's different. The SQL shell, I just have the thing facing me there, and I just have to type whatever I can type to, like, in terms of queries. I have to write my queries and press enter, see the answer. Write my queries, press enter, see the answer.
Where did you type for that shell to come up?
So just if you're just on your system, so there are two ways of accessing the shell. You can get it from here. If you go all the way here, you see PSQL tool. You can get it from there. But personally, I like getting it through the normal shell. So if you just type shell, if you search if you're using a Windows system, just type shell. You see SQL shell brackets PSQL. Please don't go for Windows PowerShell or anything like that. Just type shell and you see it. Or you could just be like me. I'm currently on Postgres and you can get access to it now. But the only thing is that it's not black. That's the major difference for that.
Like,
It's not
are you getting it from the
darkish.
internet or
Well,
from the
of course,
SQL?
because yeah,
Are you getting it from the internet or the PG's interface?
sorry, I didn't get you.
I'm asking that shell, are you getting it from the internet because you're just saying it's typing it in the laptop, or is it in the interface of the PG admin?
Did I get
I'm asking,
did I get
are
one
you
from the internet?
accessing the shell from maybe Chrome, or you are just accessing it from the PGD?
I think my network is breaking a bit. I don't know if you can hear me.
I'm asking, hello?
Yep. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, I'm very sorry. My network was just misbehaving, so I didn't really get what
No
you said.
problem.
If you could come again, please.
I'm asking, are you getting the the share thing from the PG admin interface, or are you getting it outside, like in, for example, in Chrome?
Okay, thank you. So I had to refresh my I don't know. Well, let me quickly share my screen. So yeah, sorry. You can continue. You can continue, Glory.
Asking the the shell, the SQL shell, where are you getting it from?
So because like I don't know when you were installing PG admin, I didn't mention that we should install shell though. But there was a section, I don't know, when you were installing it, that they will ask you which ones do you want to install. That you click on PG admin, you will click on your shell. Maybe if you did, maybe you see stack builder. I don't know if you remember something like that.
No, I don't.
Okay, you probably might not. But during the installation, you might have seen something like that. You see, you choose the ones you want to install, SPG admin, SQL shell, and normally everything is ticked. So maybe you just saw it and press next. You might not have not really taken note of it or something like that. But it's within like the like the first time you try to download Postgres or PG admin, you see something like that there. Be the first time you try to do that. That's when you see that in there. So any other questions so far before we continue?
I've not yet understood, sir, where you're getting the SQL shell. Why don't you just repeat it, please?
Okay, so what I said was that unfortunately I've already downloaded mine already, and that's what you're seeing here. But in the installation, like the first time, do you have it currently installed, right? PG admin and Postgres. You have it currently installed in your system.
Yes, I have the SQL thing. Yeah.
Yes. So during the installation, they will usually ask, I don't know when I can go online and maybe type Postgres installation something, the snapshot. But I think maybe I can try browse it. I think maybe I can try browse something like that. Let me try Postgres installation snapshots. You've already installed it, so you've not really see it. But during the installation, uh they usually ask questions like this. What do you want to um what do you want to keep? Unfortunately, I don't think I'm seeing anything like that so far, so good. I'm saying what is okay. Uh, I will have to browse it, but to probably remind you, like it's not something you pay attention to. You might have paid attention to when you were, and it's not. I'm not trying to say it's something you should have paid attention to.
Sorry, sir. Mr. Gusa,
Yes,
in essence, what you're saying is when we are trying to install this the whole Postgres whatever, that
yes,
the SQL comes with the full package. Is that what you're saying?
yes. It comes. Yes, everything is ticked. You see, do what do you want? What you it will ask you like the
So in
ones you
essence,
want.
if I go to my search bar and I do SQL shell.
Yes,
If you go to the bottom left at where it says type to search, where it has the little magnifying glass, all the way at the bottom. Yes. So there are a couple of ways. You could type in PSQL. No, PSQL. Okay. So that is it at the top. Okay. Remember, do you recall? Wait, hold on. Before we click it, do we remember the different kind of SQL we discussed about?
Yes.
where we talked about transact SQL, PSQL, PLSQL. So if you double click on it, or if you can double click on it, or you could right click it and say run as admin. Because sometimes you may have permissions issues. Oh, okay. So then if you know your server name, you can connect to it using that. That's where the shell comes. This is called the SQL shell. Okay. And
Okay.
the PG admin was built in because the PSQL is I wouldn't say it's an older version, but before they had the quote unquote GUI, the graphical user interface, the click part, this is how most people did everything. Oh, you want to drop a database, create a database, they did it here. And there's still some, I don't know if it's a stigma or a rumor. Some of the older coders, if they see you using the click method, they will laugh at you. The person doesn't know what they are doing. But it's still the same thing. The PG admin way is the better, well, is recommended for people who are new to coding. Is everyone able? And it comes with it. If you recall, when you were doing your installation, you had you shared a screenshot. Do you recall asking for guidance?
Yes.
And do you recall the guidance you were given?
I can't remember, but I followed
Yeah,
up.
we would have to, start doing that because as a data analyst, we have to pay full attention to the detail, not drop the arrow, and if it's fixed, we move on. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, because it will happen to anyone. The guidance was just select everything. And I recall, Mr. Egosa, you said, oh, she may not, I think there was one of the options you said she may not need.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes.
remember.
Okay. So the point I'm getting at is we try to give you a total package. And this is not just for Madam Glory, it's for every one of us. So that we understand the why. Like even when Mr. Charles had his error, we fix it. Oh, it's working now. But what is the root cause? Why did that happen? Because if it happens again, guess what? None of your code the person's code will work. The person may be behind for the entire class. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
And this is a message to each and every one of us. You always want to ask why. Why? The data analyst wants to ask, why did this happen? Okay, which is better, using the shell or the PG admin? Why? So is everybody able to, does everyone, and this comes pre-installed with it. Okay. So why would somebody use the shell over the PG admin? Any idea? Anyone want to try before we move ahead?
I
Okay,
don't
we would
know. I
have
don't
that as
know
an
because I think
assignment.
the admin makes is hello.
Yeah, we are listening to you.
Personally, for me, I haven't used more, but I think the interface of the PG admin seems more appealing to me. I don't know why someone will have to be using the shell anyway.
Okay. Anyone else?
Maybe level, maybe it's a level of mastery one gets to and just wants to do away with the plenty colors and all that. But then I
Okay.
think the interface of the PG admin just
Okay.
I find
Okay.
it appealing.
Okay. Anyone else before we move
I think
ahead?
because as I've seen, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
For me, I would think from what I've observed, the instructor doing is that the shell is showing the processes it has gone before it execute that, vis-a-vis the PG that you just click and it just gives you everything. It doesn't give you the processes.
Okay. So
But the other
one
one is
major
like it's
reason.
giving,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
the
and you
other
guys
one
are
is
not wrong.
giving the instructions.
Yes. And you guys are not wrong. But one major reason, right, is because of what do you call it? Resources. The PG admin tends to load faster. And in terms of execution, it is fast because it has the GUI. I mean, sorry, not the PG, I mean the shell loads faster. Sorry, I said that backwards. The shell loads faster because it doesn't have a lot of graphics. It does. So for people who are, let's say your laptop has 4 GB of memory. If you are well versed with the code, with the shell, they tend to use the shell. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But from a beginner perspective, we don't have to be too focused on that. Look at it this way. Somebody has a car and he has 5 children. If you have to go to church, do you think it would be faster if you are going by yourself or if you have to wait for all the 5 children to load into the car? Which one do you think will be faster for you?
Going by yourself.
That's the example of how the shell works. Okay? When you put in here, you put in sudo su. Sudo means it's a super user. You put in sudo, you put your connection. It's the same as what Glory did when she had to put in her password in pgadmin. But for the purpose of this beginner SQL class, it would ask you we would use the pgadmin for the most part. And my word to you is don't let anybody intimidate you that, oh, if you are not using the shell, you don't know how to code, you're not, that's crap. Your business mostly cares about the accuracy and consistency of your data. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, don't let anybody intimidate you. Like some people put on a black screen so that you would not even have any idea of what they are doing. It's like, wow, this thing is so complicated. Whatever you could do in the shell, you could do in the PG admin. Okay? Any questions or concerns or issues so far before we move ahead? We all good?
Yes.
So the takeaway is, you can use the PSQL. It comes loaded. It comes with it, or the PG admin. And this is for Postgres. In SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, they have it's called PowerShell. They have the shell also, but they call it PowerShell for Microsoft SQL Server. And then the screen that we shared in the last class when I shared my own screen is called a Management Studio. It's like a window where you can see everything. Okay? So instructor Ego said, you feel free to, if you want to share your screen back again, you feel free to. But whatever you could do in the PG admin, you could do it in the shell. Whatever you could do in the shell. The shell is like a dark world of coding, code after code. That's basically it, but it's the same concept. Does anyone at this point have any issues connecting to their PG admin, creating database or dropping databases? Okay. Yeah. Instructor Ego, so whenever you're ready to share your screen.
No problem, sir.
Okay.
So give me a sec. Let me try to share my screen.
Mr. Gusa.
Yes,
Yeah, for
I can hear you.
for clarity, database is maybe that database you don't need it again. You just want to delete it, but
Sorry?
The drop database.
yes, because I've seen you do that. I understand that the create is maybe you want to create a new database. You do create database name and all those things. The drop is just when you don't need the database again. You want to delete it.
So, let me help you with that if you don't mind, Mr. Charles. Okay?
Okay,
Are you
sir.
guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, technically you are right, but when it comes to SQL, words matter. Are you guys with me on that?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the choice of words matter because and you get to realize that there's a difference between drop and delete. So, but yeah, you're right. If you don't need the database again, you can drop it, right? But drop is used for the object, is used for a container. Okay, like you can drop a database, you can drop a table. But when you want to get rid of somebody's name, let's say Mr. Charles doesn't work for this company again, you cannot drop that data. I don't know if that makes sense, guys.
Not
Or
quite
is it?
clear.
And we will get to that point. You can, there's a difference between the data and the structure. Like if you have a name in your table, let's say the person name is Mr. Charles Glory, and they are not in the company anymore. you would have to delete that name if it's data. But if it's a table, a view, or a database, you will have to drop it. Point is, if it is capable of storing information, you drop it. If it is actual data like name, address, because that's one key difference between DML and the DDL. A true data analyst has to know the difference between drop and delete. You have to know the difference between insert and update, as of also when we would use either or. If I'm putting something that is, if a new student comes into Poshem Technologies, do we insert their information or do we update it? What if a lady gets married and she says, oh, change my name to my husband's name? Do we do we delete the old one, insert in the new name, or do we just update her old name? But these are some things. Drop is if you don't need it again, but it's only used in specific scenarios. And they call them for database object. Like example, a schema. You can drop a schema. You can drop a database. You can drop a table. Okay? Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
And the more we practice it, we will get to see it. When we go more in depth into DDL versus data definition language versus data manipulation language. Which languages do you use to manipulate the data? Remember our example of driving under influence. Does anyone recall that?
Yes.
Driving under influence, delete, update, insert, and select. But the more we spend, hands-on time, you will see the difference between drop and delete. Okay, when do I use it? In what instance? Insert and update. Okay. Grant, revoke. You will see it, and it will now start to make sense bit by bit. Okay, Mr. William, any questions, concerns, or comments so far?
I have a question. Does SQL have functions like Power BI and Excel?
When you say functions, what do you mean?
I mean, like in Excel, we have if function and all these functions, average, sum. So I asked whether SQL has its own function.
They do. And so, how would I explain that? So Excel, they call them, a function is basically a logic.
Yeah.
That's all a function is, right?
Yes.
So in SQL, most of the code you are writing is what Excel calls its functions. Okay?
Oh, I don't understand, sir.
So like, for example, we can write a logic saying, if this person's name, if their first name is Charles and the last name is Glory, update that table. We can write it in SQL. That's a little bit more advanced for a beginner, but we can write it. We can, even in Python, they have those, if else, else if. Like example, as a data analyst, you may want to update the salary of, let's say everybody in your department got a bonus or a raise. It will be tedious to update it one by one. True or false?
Yeah, sure, sir.
So you will have to write a function if employee in, let's say, this department's ID or whatever, update it, put it, change it to this. But to do that, you will have to know your update statements. You would have to know what table you're updating, what information you're updating. Okay? But Excel will call them functions because naturally Excel is GUI, graphical interface, click, 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 click. A function is just something that is programmatic, something that, okay, you are using a logic. If traffic light is green, what do you do?
You cross the road.
If it's red, what do you do?
You stop.
Exactly. So you can write that same logic in SQL. You can write it again. Anything you can do in one, you should be able to do it in the other. If you can, the only thing SQL doesn't really do is visualization. And does anyone have any idea how you can visualize with SQL? Anyone?
I think you move the data, you download the data and move it to either Excel or Power BI.
Thank you. You can either download it or you can connect it. That's what I was trying to explain to. That was the similar question. Madam Glory, do you remember the question you asked the last time?
On.
Which, all of them? Which one did you ask the last class?
I asked about the databases, the front end and the back end.
Correct. So if SQL doesn't do visualization, but the people say they want a report, at a point you may have to connect your Postgres to your Power BI. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you can connect it to your Excel data source, or download it and do your visualization and present it. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, it does.
Yes, sir, it does.
You have to, they'll set it up as a data source. So instead of pointing it to your laptop, your C drive, you would put that server name that you have when you're connecting to your Postgres, and you can do it. So that will now, the Postgres, Madam Glory, will serve as your quote unquote back end in this case. So I don't know if you guys, for those of us that did Power BI, when did they teach you how to refresh the dashboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so anytime let's say you delete somebody's information from the Postgres SQL side, it will reflect on that dashboard. Look at it like if you have a business, anytime they sell or they get new inventory, the manager would see it on that dashboard. But whatever you can do in Excel, whatever you could do in SQL, whatever you could do in Power BI, you try to look at it and ask, how can I do it in this other one? Is there a way to do it how can I get rid of missing values? How can I get rid of duplicates? How can I do this in this other interface? The reason why we teach all these tools, because whenever you find a job, you don't know what they would be using. But the concept should remain the same. You cannot tell me you know SQL, you were trained in SQL, you don't understand the difference between a database and a schema. You can't, and at the end of the class, we would learn all this. Not today's class, but the eventual program. You want to know the difference between the DML and the DDL. If you have an error, what do you do? Do you panic, or do you know how to research your issue? Are you confident with writing your code without running to ChatGPT? That is what Poshem is trying to show you. Can you explain what you are doing to a 5-year-old? Why you are doing it this way and not that way? Don't let coding intimidate you. Ask all your questions, every last one of them. Please ask your questions. With that being said, any more questions or any confusing concepts?
Yes, I have one more question.
Okay.
The question is that if you mistakenly drop a database, can you retrieve it back?
Yeah. Do you need the truth, the politically correct answer, or a lie? Most people would say the truth. Which one do you want?
Well, I will go for the truth.
The truth is, both of you cannot coexist at the same time. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys?
No, sir.
If you mistakenly drop the database, that's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Is that your question?
Yeah, that's my question.
If they get that database, you have to be gone, because that's an expensive mistake. You are what we call a scary analyst. They are scared of you. Do you understand? Hello?
No, sir.
You will get fired.
No, I don't understand, sir. I don't understand.
That's an expensive mistake.
What?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Did anyone else hear what I said?
You say it's an expensive mistake that you will get fired.
They will get you fired on the spot, because the security measures in place, they may not even give you access, first of all, to delete the database. So for you to drop a database, not a table now. Okay? Are you hearing me, Mr. William?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Not one table. So let's say the database you dropped is your whole customer's information. That means the CRM that Madam Glory is using to check customer information. Do you think Madam Glory can do her job?
No, sir.
Do you think your managers can get their reports?
No, sir.
So the point is, when they find out that it was due to quote unquote a mistake, they'll be like, yeah, this person, you are too dangerous for us. Just you are a liability. Move. Because the point is, we don't know what else you will go and delete, drop tomorrow. It's like somebody tell an architect, you tell him to build there, say, I'm sorry, please. When you come back, you say, I was mistakenly lighting cigarette and it burnt down the whole building. What will you do, Mr. Williams?
You have to pay for it. I hold him. I hold him accountable. You have to pay for it.
That's the same scenario. Okay? Now, the politically correct answer is yes, you can get it back. You can do a backup. If the database has a backup, they can restore it from the backup. But most times, 8 out of 10, the data analyst does not have access to that. They would have to reach out to the database administrator, or somebody else, open a ticket to get that information restored back. And they will say, to what time do you want it restored to? Okay?
Yes, sir.
So the recommendation I would recommend is anything before deleting or dropping anything, they say measure twice before you cut one time. You want to verify with your stakeholders. Are you sure you want us to drop it? Are you sure you want us to change it? Are you sure you want us to delete it? If at possible, you let them know, look, if you delete this, it contains XYZ tables, this, are you sure? Once they confirm it in writing, you go ahead. A lot of people, they teach them the coding aspect. They don't teach them the human relationship aspect. There's a protocol to go before deleting things. Because yes, you can always get it back at some point, but the process, you may need multiple approvals in a real world perspective. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So it's not that you cannot get it back, but do you want to be answering to your manager why you deleted it in the first case? Is that a place you want to be?
No, sir.
Imagine we have two databases. One name is William. The other database is William with an S. They say, please delete the William. You didn't even know that there are two databases that are similar. You go and drop the wrong one. But they have two totally different information. What will you do?
That's indefinitely.
Sorry?
For me, I don't know. I don't know what I can do. Like, I don't think I can.
That's the whole point. That's why I say most people
Unless
you will first pray that nobody notices. But they will always notice. You understand what I'm saying? And the painful thing about it is that everything you do in a database is logged. So it will log who deleted it and what time it was deleted. Dropped, sorry. The moral of the story is, yes, it can be restored, but please be careful. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, I did.
It can be restored through backup and restore. But most other places will tell you once you drop something, it can never be restored. That's not true. It can be restored, but that's out of the pay grade of a data analyst. Because the data analysts, they lock down their permissions to only what they need to run queries and analyze. Any other questions or concerns before we move ahead? Okay, I think Instructor Egosa has dropped a link in the platform for the database we have to download. Okay, and in Excel, you will notice they call them data sets. In SQL, they will call it databases and tables. That's another minor difference. So if there are no questions, we can proceed, guys, right? But we love the questions you're asking. You want to be careful with deleting and dropping, very careful.
I have a question. What's the difference between tables and schemas? I've seen there the definition is a schema is it's a collection of related tables. So when you, for example, when you input your data and it's in different tables but related. The
Mm-hmm.
the SQL will not the SQL, the database, it will arrange it, or you are the one to classify.
That's a good question. By default, it classifies it. But if you don't like the way it classifies it, you have to go and update it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, like, I will give you a better example. Like, if you create a table, let's say you created your Data Explorer table database yesterday. So you have a table named shoes, clothes, laptop, right? You have 3 tables. Okay. By default, it will put everything in the Postgres schema. Or if it's in SQL Server, Microsoft, it will say DBO for database owner schema, because that is the default owner. I don't know if you guys recall when Instructor Egosa shared his screen in the, what's it called? I think it's the shell. It showed who is the owner of different objects, tables, and views. Does anyone recall that? Okay, maybe not, but we'll see it again, hopefully. So if you want to update it, let's say you want it to be, no. I want Glory to be the owner of the shoes, Charles to be the owner of the clothes, Mr. William need to be the owner of the food. You can go in there and update it. Like, for example, what's a good example of, look at the schema as different departments: human resources department, IT department, accounting department. Is it possible for human resources to have their staff and the accounting department to have a different set of staff?
Yeah, it is.
So even if you have 2 tables called staff in the same database, one can be human resources.staff, the other could be accounting.staff, and it could be 2 totally different sets of information. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So it's like everything belonging to the accounting department would be in one schema. However, most database analysts, data analysts design, they don't design things properly. So if you go in there, all the schemas just have one default name. It can just be glory.everything, Charles.everything, William.everything, Egosa.everything, Postgres.everything. Okay. But that's a very great question. I love the questions we're asking. And the more we get exposed to this, the more we will start seeing it. Because in Oracle, they don't call they call their database a schema. So different DBMS, they may use a slightly different terminology. Oracle, their schema is also called, their database is also called a schema. But the schema is basically, okay, look at, you have a house, you have your stuff, you have your brother's stuff, you have your sister's stuff. Oh no, this is Glory's shoes. This is Egosa's shoe. This is Porshem's food. Okay, Instructor Egosa, feel free to share your screen. Let us proceed for today.
No problem, no problem. So we'll be
Thank you guys
proceeding
very
for
much. You guys came in on fire.
Thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
We appreciate it, sir. Okay, so I will quickly share my entire screen because I sent a link. And is it okay to share? Okay. So if you go to the chat, you would see a Google Drive link. So let me click on it first, and let me share my screen. So that's my screen sharing screen, and let me just share my entire screen. I'm sharing it. Yeah, can we see my screen, please? I think we're probably seeing it. So I sent a link to the chat. You're not seeing my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, no problem. So if you check the chat, you see a link to a Google Drive, a Google Drive link, and there's a specific file. It's an SQL file. I will show us what I'm going to do to the file, how I'm going to work with it. I don't know why my network is moving a bit slowly. But yeah, it's an SQL file that we're going to just load in to our PG admin, then like it's from it is a it's a database. So let me show you this. It's already have the database, but I'll create a new. Okay, sorry, my audio wasn't on. Apologies, but this is the link I'm talking about. So what I was saying, my audio was off, was I just click on download and then save on your system. So I'll go all the way to my downloads, and you see the file there. But we're not going to use it from there, so let's not worry too much. We're not going to use the file there. So it's called DVD rentals. DVD rentals. I don't know whether showing my folder directory is best on the call, but yeah, that is this thing we're going to be downloading. Let me clear this, and I'll show you how we're going to import this database here. So I'm going to delete this database. I'll just call it. No, I'm not going to delete. I'm going to create a new database. So, sorry about me talking very funny. So let's delete this database. I'm just deleting a random database from my databases. So nothing crazy, nothing crazy. So I'll just refresh my database. For that session, database new. Okay, I'll just X this. Don't save. I'll X this, and I will try to refresh. And let me create a new database so that everybody sees me just creating everything from scratch. I'm not going to create it by typing create database or drop database or whatever. I'm just going to easily create it by the clicking and everything. So create a database. I'll call it, what should I call it? Let's call it Potion class, or just Potion. I don't have any Potion database. I have a Potion test, but I don't have Potion on its own. So I'll call mine Potion. And that's all I need to do. I'll just save.
Hold on, guys. So, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can hear you.
Are you guys with me, the rest of the class, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
one thing you have to understand is this: when you're creating things or naming things, please try to avoid having space in the name. Because when you write a code, it looks at the space as two different words. So that's why sometimes you will see they put, let's say, Poshem underscore this. If you are creating a table, creating a database, it's very, very important because it will look at Poshem underscore test, Poshem test, one word, and if it looks at it as different things. That is very, very important, you see, because I've seen people troubleshoot a code for 4 hours. They did not know where the error was coming from. You understand? And yes, we can use the clicking method. You can see how easy it is. But that's why the website we gave to you guys, www.w3schools.com, is very important to know the syntax. There are 2 levels of coding. One, can you read the code? What is it doing? Is it creating? Okay, what's it creating? And can you troubleshoot it? That's the whole idea, is to get your hands wet in writing the code. Even if you start with 1 line of code, 2 lines of code, reading it. Okay, what's it doing? What's it doing? Okay. And if you see when an instructor goes, I created the database. If we can do it again, we would see there's a space that says owner. The default owner is Postgres. So mostly all your items will be arranged under the Postgres schema because that's the only owner you have. Because it's like, okay, who owns this table? Who owns this view? It will be the Postgres owner. But for the purpose of this class, we are studying data analysis. So we want to show you how to create your database at a point, create your tables, bring data inside, then start analyzing the data. But our main role is to make sure we are all comfortable with this, writing basic 1 line, 2 lines of SQL code. But please avoid spaces. And if we can see, you know, some database in Postgres, some databases turn, is it brown or gold? Some are gray. The gray ones with the X show that he's not connected to it yet. That's in Postgres. In SQL, Microsoft SQL Server or MySQL, it may be different. Are you guys still with me?
Yes, sir.
You know, so this is a difference, you know, between Excel and using a database. The database tries to secure you and protect you from your own self. That before you even start doing anything here, you have to put a password, true or false?
True.
You have to connect and you can disconnect. In Excel, all you have to do is open up the file and start working on it, right?
Yes, sir.
So guys, let me ask you. So if you were managing data for a large company, would you recommend them using Excel or using a database?
Database.
Anyone else? Any other opinions?
Probably Azure.
Okay. How about you, Mr. Charles, Madam Glory? Any recommendations?
A database.
Again, but on the flip side, database is more expensive. So if it's a small company like Poshem, we may just put your stuff in an Excel spreadsheet.
But you're just
I don't know
in
if
a
you see
large company.
Sorry?
You're just in a large company.
Exactly. So, I mean, it depends on who is looking. So the point is some of these things can be relative. Because a database is definitely more secure. You can't just open it and you have to know the password. And you have to connect to the proper database before you start doing things. But when somebody tells you, oh, you don't need to know SQL before you do this, run away from such people. Oh, you can be it. Run away from such people. It's not that that information is not true. But the more you know, the more attractive skill set you will have, and the more indispensable you will be. That is a fact. That is a fact. If somebody is telling you, you don't need to know this, run away from those. Anything is run away from such person. And run far away. If the person cannot explain it to you like you're a 5-year-old, run it. Well, let me not say run away. Walk away from the person. Don't run. Listen to a little bit of what they say. You might catch something. Because when you're sitting with stakeholders, the stakeholders will ask you a lot of questions. Why? Why are we using Postgres instead of Microsoft SQL? Why are we using Microsoft SQL instead of MySQL? Which one is the most popular? You cannot get frustrated. Because the person, you cannot get, are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
these
sir.
are real life things that other places, they will just come teach you, okay, let's write this code. Congrats, you're a data analyst. When your stakeholder starts asking you questions, you say, oh, it's a toxic work environment. So does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Do we all know how to create a database at this point in Postgres SQL? Okay. Assignment is coming. Please, let's proceed.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. So so far so good. I sent a link to the group chat, a Google Drive link. So if you download the file and check it on your system, you might see a it ending with .sql. So it's an SQL file. So it ends with .sql. So I created a Postgres database, and I'll just create a create tool for this and show us how we are going to create like so we're not really going to do the traditional query database, which we haven't really talked about. We'll do that probably in a third or fourth class. So we're just going to populate Postgres database with tables automatically. So there's already a script for this that will just run and will populate it with databases, which you can start learning how to query. That's the aim for this. So I'll show you. So I have mine downloaded on my system, and let's confirm you can see my screen right now as I clicked on open. So okay, this is what I did. Around this upper parts, there are some interesting things here, like upper parts of the like higher than the query. This thing you can see the query history. You will see something that looks like a folder, and it looks something. This other stuff here is like a floppy disk. It's to save, but it's to save your query that you write. But unfortunately, we haven't written any query, so we can't save anything, an empty file. So we'll have to write something here first. Probably except we give spaces. Yeah, spaces is technically not really empty, so you can see the saving stuff being dark. If I go back, it's the highlighting is a bit lighter. But that's by the wayside. So we want to, while we're clicking on this open file, is that we want to bring in that file we downloaded into Postgres, into pgadmin. So I'll just click on mine, and I don't know if you guys are seeing what's going on here with my files. So wherever what the mine save, of course, by default, when I download things online on my browser, whatever is Chrome or whether it's Chrome, whether it's Firefox, whether it's what's it called, Edge. I mostly use Edge or Chrome, but mostly it depends on my mood. So mine stores in my downloads. So you can see DVD rentals database new. Both are the same thing. That's why you see the other one saving as one. So I'll just click on any one of them. I downloaded it from the link I sent to us in the group. So I'm just going to click on the first one. And there's a lot of things going on here, but you don't need to pay attention to them. This is like a script basically with a lot of things populated inside. So if I scroll down, it's not really something, I don't think it's humanly possible to insert all this into a database on hand. Yeah, so this is basically a broken down database and things like that, but we don't need to really understand the high level details of how I got about this for now. But we'll talk about how to manually insert things into a database as we go on. But for now, we want to start with the select statement and understanding like how to actually query a database, yeah, from the beginning, like level. Like we know how to create and drop, but how do we communicate? How do we like start from the beginning in a way when we already have a database and we have data inside? So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna do anything crazy yet. I'm just gonna click on run. So I'm just on the third line. Probably should be there too, but I think anyway, it can be anywhere and you click on run, and this should work. So I don't know if you saw what happened there. The green something. I think let me go to messages. Successfully run. So whatever I ran here, you won't really see it yet. So, but let me show you what I ran. So if I go all the way to Pushem, if I go to schemas and I go to tables, so this is the database that the creator is linked to all the way here, right? So if I go to tables, you see probably nothing. Okay, it's been inputted. Sometimes the thing about Postgres, sometimes with pgadmin, sometimes you might have to refresh. So I could have showed you the database being empty, but since we created the database together, like I created it showing you guys that like, oh, create database, like there was nothing there, literally just an empty database. It's when we actually run this code that now, if you go all the way to your tables, you see these are all this is the result of this query, like this script. Let's call it a script, SQL query script, because it's not something I manually manually inputted. Like I don't think you can see 41,736. Like there's several insert into things going on here, but basically, yeah, this script just inputs all of this data, all of these tables into this database. So you can see tables, I have 15 tables. So if you create, I think we can go ahead and try this for ourselves. You create a new database, yeah, and in that new database, you go to your query tool, create a query tool referencing the new database. Then you can do what I did, go to open file, you bring in that SQL file we downloaded. So DVD rental, something, you bring it in, then just click run. So what we are doing actually here is we're just ingesting, yeah, we are ingesting the data. Can I say ingesting? We're directly just inputting a data tables inside a database, like with this script particularly, because you can see it's not something you can manually write. But I just want us to be able to use this for our classes and maybe our concurrent classes as we go about SQL. We have some interesting tables that we can query. So that's that for that in terms of this. So I want us to just go ahead and try this. Tell me if there's an error. So you don't need to write anything. You just bring in the file, run. And if you check your database that you referenced, your query tool, you should see in your tables, actors, addresses, category, stores, several things going on. So just as we are doing this on our systems, so to give you a little bit of background about this database, because like what the hell did I just put? This database actually is from a store. It's from a store that they rent DVDs. So it's an old store. I don't think the store exists anymore, because if we check the information in terms of the years that the store existed, probably you'll see 2005 or 2006. But it's an old store, and it's about like the data like that the store has. Like, and the store was divided into like two addresses. The store had two addresses, and in these addresses, I don't know if you can remember those days that you sell DVDs and everything. So their inventory taking was top notch. They always took inventory of what was going on. Customers that come and buy, come and rent DVDs or buy DVDs. They took note of the customers, and like this, of course, it took note of like each actor of whatever. Like, let's say you're buying a series called The Boondocks or is Goldfinger, some old series, right? They took note of, okay, this is the actor that played this as the main character, or this is the title of the film. What are some keywords or what are some words that were spoken in this film that maybe if you see him, I understand? Okay, they took note of the customers, some of the customers that were coming to buy uh, these things. They took note of the managers of the offices. So it's a database just detailing uh, rentals of movies, things about the customers, the inventory. You can see it all here. So we have the actor table, the actors, the addresses of the customers, the category of film it is, the city where they are at, or maybe the film was acted, things like that, like the film actor, the film category. It has like this database has a high level detail of a company that once probably existed before. Yeah, in terms of the rentals and things like that. So that's why I just call it DVD rentals database. Some other places you may call it Maven movies database. Some other places you might see it if you try to browse online or try to look for it online. I think it's quite popular repository. You might see it online and things like that. So I was able to just package it in a way that you can just run the script and you can have it. Okay, so if we're able to do this, I think might take a pause on this to give us some what's the word? To give us some idea of what we're doing. Because like now this might be a bit confusing just looking at this. Because like how did all this come about? We are total beginners. We're total beginners. Although I did plan to get to that stage, but I think we should talk about how to actually because we've created a database now. So how does this tables come about? You might kind of see the scripts here and everything, but this is not really what we should look at. It's a bit confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. I'm going to go about trying to break down how to achieve something similar to this, like how to like now we've created a database, right? So how do we define our tables? Because like the thing about working with SQL is that when you create your database, at least for our level, when your database is created, and you want to, let's say, input a file, a table, an Excel file you have somewhere in your system, right? Or something like you even want to manually insert data into the database. There's a way to go about it. So let me create a new query tool for this new. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write some interesting things here.
Excuse me, please, before you move forward.
No problem, no problem.
I was asking, after you bring in your file, where did you click? Is it the
So you just click on
script or execute query?
Execute script.
Okay. Not query, and yet it's a query we are writing.
Use execute script. That's the direct one. So that's F5. That's F5. We'll talk about the execute query another time. But the execute script is mostly what you use, like whenever you write an SQL code, let's say create database or drop database. If you notice, that's what we'll be using since, or you can just press F5 on your system. So if you did that, we'll probably take a pause from that for a while and try to understand, because like now we have tables inside and we can actually create their database, but it's like we're skipping a stage.
Excuse me, sir.
No problem, all two stages. Go ahead, go ahead.
Something else I'm asking.
Yeah.
Normally, if for example you are using Power BI, the
All right.
data used to come in the normal wordings, but this one is like it's coming in a coded language. That's how they appear.
Okay,
Because
yes.
when you look at that script, you don't understand anything. But in
Yes,
the
you won't
normal ones,
understand
like in
anything.
Power BI, when we used to load, the data used to come in a way we could see this is renters, maybe the name of the tenants and all that. But this one, they're coming in. Is it coded language?
No, it usually depends. So what that script or what that SQL file was basically a database that was broken down. Like, yes, there's something called insert into. We'll get about this. So if I create a database, so let me write this down. So the first thing usually before you start bringing in a table or you start inputting data into a database is to have the database exist in itself. So the first thing usually is to create a data. Sorry for my spelling. Is to create a database. That's the first thing we do. So I think we are very conversant with that, create and drop. So now the next thing, so probably I should say step one or just one. So what I'm doing right now is actually commenting my code. So if you see me, what I did, I just press dash dash. And if I press dash dash, whatever you see here will not be, if I press run, there will not be error or anything because this is not a query. But if I remove the dash dash, first of all, there's no such thing as create a database one, something like that. This is now a query that doesn't make sense. So what I'm just trying to do is just write down the breakdown of how we go about working with this. This is a question. I'll answer it right now, but just bear with me until I write this thing down. So next thing after we create database is, let's say you want to, there are two things we can do, right? We can decide, okay, we have an Excel file somewhere, for example, yeah, and we want to put this Excel file into a database, right? So before we actually do that, whether we want to put an Excel file directly into a database or whether we want to manually insert data directly into a database, we need a table. So that table is going to be empty. So we are going to define a table. We're going to create a table. So this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to create a table. And in creating a table, you define your data types. So in creating a table, you define your columns. Also, I'll show you what I mean. Your columns and data type. I'm sorry if this is looking confusing. I will show you guys right now, and you'll be very like, oh, this, that, and define your data type. So define your columns and data types. So after this, you can now decide. So number 3 now, you can now decide after step 2, which we're going to look at very soon. Like right now, after just write step 3. After this, you can now decide to, okay, now this table we've created probably is going to be empty. Create a table is going to be empty. Note, step 2 is an empty table they are creating, right? So the step 3 now is like, okay, the table you've created now, the empty table you have created. For the empty table you create, I'll show you all this right now. Table you create, you can directly load in something like an Excel file, load in a CSV file, an Excel normal file, like so an Excel file. So I'll tell you what I mean by all these things as we go on. Excel file, for example, Excel CSV, or so I'll press this will be you can manually or both manually insert data into your tables. I'm sorry for my spelling, into your tables. Table or both. So you can either say, oh, let me bring an Excel file, or you can, like you already have data somewhere, or you can manually insert data. So let me break this down. This is a bit confusing. So let me break this down. I think step one, we're good to go. So, but where we need to understand now is from step two. Because now that you've created a database, think of it like this. You have just like you have like I think the example I gave was the shelf, not the what's it called, the safe, and maybe you have some racks. You have things divided into racks, like you have into compartment, but like the upper part, lower part, you have several racks, right? That you can just store things to make it maybe better or make it more sense. Or let's think of it like a library. We have several sections in the library, right? That okay, maybe a book on fisheries is on one side, a book on this is on one side. But now think of it like us just having a library. We just have a library, a room. A library is just a room. That's a database. So the creatable part now is us trying to create shelves or a shelf. You can see a table, kind of. I know this is the explanation we gave for a schema, but I'm borrowing it from a table. Why? Because now in that table or that singular shelf, you can now have like, a table can have several columns and things like that. So I would define the columns, I would define the data type. Okay, am I going to bring a date type data? Am I going to bring in a something like the currency? Okay, is that going to be an integer? Is that going to be a float? I'm going to define the table. Yeah, so it's like defining how the shelf will look like, basically designing the shelf, the different designs of shelf. Okay, how many rows is the shelf going to have, that kind of thing. So that's that part of creating a table. So the shelf that I'm creating now is going to be inside my library. Whatever type of shelf is going to be inside my library. It's going to be inside my database. The table I'm creating is going to be inside the database that I have already created. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we have I don't know if I can open Excel for this. Let me quickly open Excel. Can you see my screen as I type my search?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to open Excel quickly. This is not an Excel class, but I can still open Excel. So I open an Excel file. I open my Excel and I just show you this. Let's say I want to create a table with, so I'm going to show you the manual way and maybe something of us blocking or trying to insert something like an Excel file. So let's say we have a table, an Excel file, right? In the Excel file, we have names of people. So we have name. We have the, let's say it's a small organization. We have the employee name. So maybe I should call this employee name, employee underscore name, employee. So we'll try to create this in SQL. Let's go employee underscore name. And let's just leave everything in small letter. There's a reason I'll tell you why. Employee name. And we have employee department. So I'll just call that department. Department. So before I even did this, usually if there's an organization with employees and departments, they'll probably have IDs and things like that, like the employee ID or whatever. So I should probably have said insert employee ID. So I'll just say ID, small letter. So we are going to try to create something like this in SQL. So, and let's say ID can be 1, ID can be 2, ID can be 3. Yeah, let's say we have 3 employees, right? I'll just give it a short name, give the people short name. Let's say Glory, start there. Let's say Mary, Glory, Mary, and John. Department, we can say, what should we say? We can say something like computer science, computer science. We can say fisheries, fishery. And we can say John, let's give John geology. So, I mean, this is very easy in Excel, just literally data entry. Data entry, that's what it is. But this data that we easily entered here, I would show us how to do it in SQL. So that's what we want to do. We're not going to import this into SQL. We're going to manually create this in SQL, first of all. So how are we going to do that? So first of all, like I said before, we need a database. Next, you need a table. So by what I mean by saying next, you need a table is I need to define a table. Like, so let's do that together all the way here, right? Let's define a table because in this new, just to confirm, in this database called new, there's no table. If I look at my, okay, there are tables. Okay, sorry, I'll just I'll create a new database just swiftly. I know that's got new, but I'm creating a new database, but you get. So I'll just call this example. I want to just be a fresh database. I'm not sure I think most of these databases here have things inside. So yeah, I'll just copy this, or let's change the query to, remember I said we could change where the query to references. This one is referencing new. Now it's going to reference the database called example. I think that's sorry, that's quite explanatory. So example. So if I save whatever, so it's referencing example. Now I can continue. So like what I tried to do just now was just check my tables, and there's nothing here because it's a fresh database, right? So we have an example database which you can easily create. Now let us, because like remember we said schema is more about tables, but now there's no table. Yeah, we need to create a table first. Then we can insert data. There are different ways of bringing data into the tables. We can directly write queries to insert into, or we can bring a data from outside. That's an Excel file. So for this, we're just going to do insert. We're going to do insert into. We're going to create, we're going to define our table. So we're going to create a table having employee ID. So we can see this as a table we're going to create. So I can just say insert create table, but whatever. But we're not doing that because that's Excel. We're going to do it in SQL. So this is what we're creating. So let me zoom in a bit. Oops, zoomed in too much. Let me just zoom in. Yes, this is what we're creating, just in case you're not seeing well. You know, it maybe was too far. So we're going to create. So we're going to, before we bring in, essentially what I'm saying is that in the create table, right, you need to define the headers. Like you can see it as defining the header structure of your table. So we want to define the table that we're creating as, we can call the table a specific name, and we're going to show you to like define the columns and data types. So let me actually show you. I've been talking about this since, so let me show you how easy it is to do it in SQL. So all of these are comments. So if I run anything, nothing's going to run. Why? Because I put a dash dash, a dash dash, a dash dash is a comment. It's not a query. So there's not going to be error or anything under it. So I'm going to go down. Yeah. And it's similar to the create database. Create database, I literally just write create database. So create table. So I will name my table something. So I'll say create. So mine has this IntelliSense. As I'm writing things, it's getting auto completed. Yours probably doesn't have it because you haven't set it up. But anyhow, so create table. So I forget how to spell create table. So what will I call my table? Let me call my table employees or employee. Are we there? Anybody can anybody hear me? I want to know if I'm by myself.
Yes, yes.
Am I too fast? Should I slow down a bit?
Okay. For me, I've not understood why you're putting the dashes before the writing.
Yes, like the reason why I put the dashes before the writing is, let me show you this again. I think I showed you. So if this like normally on my query tool, I'm supposed to write queries. Like I'll write something and execute it. But these are like comments, like things I want you to note. This is not a query. This is just text. But because I'm writing text in a query tool, I'm writing text in a place I am supposed to write queries. I have to make SQL understand that what I'm writing should not be run as a query, but should just see it as a plain comment. We call it comments in code, even in Python and maybe R programming language, or even Power BI. I think you have done Power BI before, right? In Power BI, if you are on the DAX view, it's also similar. If you're in DAX view in Power BI and you're writing DAX queries, you can use dash dash, but dash dash doesn't work here. You can either use dash dash, that's backward slash, or you can use dash dash, or like this dash dash that you see me writing here. If I want to create, like if I write a DAX code and I want to explain what the DAX code does, right? Under my DAX code, I can put dash dash. This dash code does this, or I can put backward slash, or is it forward slash? No, backward slash, this DAX code does this. That's Power BI. Do DAX. Do we remember? Have you done something like that before? Has anybody done anything like that or seen anything like that before when writing DAX in Power BI?
I don't think we did that in Power BI.
Okay, but no problem. Even if it didn't, just giving you extra information because, like,
We did it as
yeah,
a measure.
sorry.
We used measures.
Yes, you use measures. Yes, when you're writing measures like DAX, like when you create measures, like if you just create a measure and maybe the measure, the DAX code is looking so long and it's like a beginner, somebody that doesn't understand DAX, you want the person wants to click on your measure, see the measure you wrote, but now you want the person to have extra information of what happened. You will comment under that DAX code. You will say dash dash. You can write what the code does. This dash code calculates the average of this, so that because like normally if you just write words in DAX code and run it, sure you will get error, right? You will get error. Are you there with me? You get an error because like that's not DAX. It doesn't understand. You can't just start writing essays or things like that in DAX. You will get an error. But to write it now properly in DAX, you use dash dash or backward slash. So what you are saying here can also be written in DAX. You can also say dash dash. Like this dash dash now is to provide whoever is looking at my code information of what's going on, and also to tell SQL that whatever is written is not a query, it's just a comment. It's me wanting people to understand what I wrote.
Okay.
Are you sure you understand? Are you there?
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, so this is not going to be run as a query. So, but let's continue. So let's quickly continue. So create a table. So this create table, whatever, if I even say, let me even say type what you, if I say drop table, drop database, you can see how the colors are showing. Database, maybe just the name of the database I want to drop is Matri or something. You can see it's showing colors as if like it's something, but if I put that dash, you can see it's not looking like the color is just all one. Like this is the comments basically. So even no matter how much I run this, it will never execute
So
as dropping
basically
a database.
the
You
query
are seeing query on here,
interface
but yes,
is for like it's where you execute it's like the interface for working. It's your working space in
yes,
SQL.
yes, your
Never have
working space.
understood it.
Yes, that's a working space in SQL.
Which you can either create a database, drop a database, write query, write comments, everything.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But to write the comments, you have to specify there's a comment. This is not just the only way of writing the comments in SQL. The other way is a bit more. I want to show you, but probably as we go on, I'll show you as we go on. It's basically
Okay, sir.
like, yeah, I'll show us as we go on. Though it's not really that needed right now, but just know that this one exists. So I said we wanted to create a D table. So let's just quickly do that. So create table employees, but I turned it to a comment. So let's remove this comment stuff. Create table employee, right? So the next thing I will do is define the table structure. Create table. Before create database, they have created a database. Now I have to actually define the table structure. What do I mean? Define the rows in the table. So remember, I'm going to create a table with 3 rows, 3 columns. If I say rows, columns, ID, employee name, and department. These 3 things, I can literally copy and paste, Ctrl C, and bring it. So I don't want to just write this. So I will open a bracket after I say create table employee. So employee is going to be the name of the table I create. That's why I say create table. What table? Employee. So I'm going to open a bracket. You can see open and it closed it for me because I have IntelliSense on. So what's going on here? I'm just giving a bit of space inside this bracket. So, and I will show you what I want to do. Right. So what do we want inside the employee table? We want ID, right? We want employee name, right? And we want department, right? Like we want to create a table looking like this: ID, employee name, department. So you see me, I'm writing the columns of the data that I want, of like the columns I literally want to create. Like I want, like, okay, I'm saying I want to create a table with these columns, I'm not done yet. I'm almost done. So the next thing I need to do now, okay, I've said a create table, it's called employees, and the columns will be ID, employee name, department. I need to define the data type per column. The data type per column. So ID, in my situation, I can just call it an integer. I would have said primary key or foreign key, but I don't start and diving into this concept yet. I'll just call it an integer because 1, 2, 3. Like integers, I remember was it Papa Charles was asked in the previous class what's the difference between, or what's an integer, something we're saying is a number, is a whole number. That's what an integer is. So my IDs are just going to be a whole number, so I can just call it int or integer. So ID is going to be in. So what's going on here is I'll say, after saying the columns I want in the employee, this thing. So all these are within the employee table. You can see that within the brackets, right? So ID will be integer. Yeah, ID space the data type. ID space the data type, comma. Why am I putting comma? Because not only ID that's going to be there, employee name is going to be there, department is going to be there. So until I finish, until the second to the last thing, I'm going to put a comma after every column name and every column definition. So what I'm going to do next, employee name, let's go and look at it now. Employee name is going to be a text. I can just say text. So what's a text? If we go back to the slide that we did, a text is basically a normal text, but like there's varchar, there's char. A text basically you don't know how long it's going to be. It's almost infinitely as like you don't know how long the characters are basically going to be. You just want like you don't want to specify it. It can be as long as possible or whatever. So you can just call this a text. Give it a text data type. Employee will be text, comma, employee name, text, comma. So department is going to be last one. I'm not going to put comma after this. I mean, you don't put comma after the last thing too. I'm not going to put full stop. So department is going to be what? I can also give it text. So this is very easy way of doing this. And let's run this and let's see. So all these are defined in the employee table that we are creating, create table employee. So if I run this now, fingers crossed, employee name. So one thing to make sure that I didn't mention if I run this is that okay, we're not really inputting anything inside. We're just going to manually input or insert all these things inside. But if, for example, I was going to insert this Excel file, I would have to actually make sure the column title is probably the same as what I have in my create table statement. So one thing to notice is whether you are inserting data manually or whether you're inserting data from somewhere, when you always have to define your tables or create your table in the create table statement, you define your tables, right? Just make sure the headers of whatever it's going to be inputted is the same as when you created your table. So let me not confuse you and just run this. So query run successfully. So let me do this now. So in my example table, I'm going to refresh the example database. And I'm going to go down to the tables. Now you can see employee. I don't know if you can see this to me. Now you can see employee present there. Can we see this? Are we there? Am I with myself?
Okay, the employee is the name of the table, right?
Yes, employee, create table, what's the name? Employee. And I've set out this thing. So if I even open this, you can see columns. If I open this up, you can see ID. Let me shift this a bit. Employee name and department. So you are seeing what we just created together. Employee table with ID. What's the data type of ID? Int. Was it okay? So you will not see this data type here appearing here, but if you want to see it now, this is what you do. This takes us to the select statement. So this table is an empty table. An empty table. We are defining our table structure before we put anything inside it. Yeah, we always define our table structure most of all the time before you put something inside it. So I'm going to show you something now. I'm going to show this. It's going to show us this table, but since an empty table, just show the columns in the table. So Mr. Simon mentioned in our previous class something about the select that was we're going like we already know SQL like in life, select this from this, but like we don't know that we know it. So the select, he mentioned the select statement. You want to say select something from this in some, I don't forget the specific example he gave, but he said something about selecting something from there, like what if something like that, right? So I don't know. I'm sure we'll probably remember it better than me currently. But it said something about the select. So we are going to use the select statement, to show us something right now. A data manipulation language. We're going to write a select statement is a data manipulation language, and we're going to select something from the employee table. And what we're going to select on the employee table is just all. We'll just say select all. Select all. We want to see everything happening in the employee table. So I'll show you what I mean and I'll break it down. So select all. This might be your first time saying this, but don't be afraid. Select all. Select star. Star means all. Star means all. Star means all. When you're working with SQL, star means all. Select all. But if I just say select all and run it, it's going to give me an error. Select all with no table specified is not valid. Select star with no table specified is not valid. So when we're working on our query tool, let's say I've connected my query to the proper database and I want to select something from, like, I want to see what's going on in a table from my database. Let's say I have multiple tables, but I want to specify a table. I want to see what's going on. Like, I say select all, even if there are multiple tables in my database, as long as I don't specify it, it will give me an error. SQL does not understand what we want fully. Yeah, so two things work together: select and the from. Okay, I want to select, okay, select, I want, even if I want to select the ID, I want to select employee name, I want to select department name, all these things within the employee. If I don't specify the employee, okay, from employee, SQL can never understand. So I'm just going to show you select all. What we just created, right, is an empty table. From where? Employee. So let's run this. So employee is in the example database and our query tool is in the example database. So all things being equal, let's click on execute script. And now we see what we created. We see an empty table, but although the table is empty in terms of data present in the table is empty, but our table structure is here. This is our table structure. The ID, the employee name, and the department, like the columns in that table are here, although empty columns, mind you, but you can see the names of the columns are there, and underneath the columns, you can see the data type we specified. You can see the data type we specified per column. I don't know how this looks to us. Any questions?
I don't understand from the select. Why are we selecting and already we are creating a table?
Sorry?
Why are you selecting the table again and that you are creating a table with the data type described?
Okay, so this is what we did. Let me talk about it again. So first of all, to work with the database, what do we do? We need to create a database. Yeah, you get that part. To work with, we can't
Yes.
work with a database that does not exist. It needs to be created, right? Also, to work with a table, like in terms of, normal table in Excel, now you put it, you type data into Excel, or in Excel you can bring in data from different data sources. Do you know that? You can bring in data from an SQL file, a normal Excel CSV file, different kinds of files, a text file, things like that. In SQL, you can also do something similar to that when you are bringing, let's say, Excel files and things like that into this thing. But the major difference here between this SQL and Excel, you can easily just type the name of whatever you want to do, but and like there's no order of it of operation in terms of, I can literally input data and I forgot to put the name of the header. Let's say I inputted data, all of this on the first row. I didn't put the name. I can just say insert what sheet rows. I can just insert new row. Let me delete this. But I think I don't need to delete this, or this is to show you that it's Excel. But I can, yeah, I forgot to put my title. I can easily just, set row, put title. But unfortunately, that differs, SQL differs from Excel in that sense, that I can't just randomly start inputting data when there is no table, because we have a database now. There's no table, there's no template, there's no shelf to put data. We can't just start putting data in our data on the floor randomly, scattering it on the floor in our database or in our library. We need to say, okay, we'll create a shelf. Let's just create a shelf. That shelf is a table. We create a shelf and define how the shelf looks like the how many things, how many rows and whatever. And now that we have defined it, so you start by defining the table. You create the table, and in the table name, in the table, you can see create table, we put a table name. And after that, you can see, okay, we're defining the columns. So unfortunately, you can't just start this anyhow or just do anyhow. It's structured query language. Remember what we're learning is structured query language. Structure, everything has a structure. Everything has a structure. Everything has a structure. It's not just random. We're not doing things on a random basis. We're not doing things on a random basis. We're doing things on a structured basis. You get me? So your database is created, your table needs to be created. So automatically, I would have said your table, your schema needs to be created. But as you can see, as we create a database, it automatically creates a schema for us. So I don't know if you saw what I did before I did this create table. I went to the schemas, I went to the tables, and it was empty at that point, because as we create database, automatically just create schemas for us. But if we check our tables, it's empty because we had not created a table. I hope I am not being how has it been? How's it looking like? Do you understand it a bit more? Have I been able to answer your question? Or are you hearing me at all? Okay, you're hearing me. Okay, so um that is that for that. So what we did after we created our table, now an empty table, mind you, because we have not inputted any data inside. We said we wanted to manually insert data inside it, right? I'm going to manually insert this data. I just opened this in Excel and wrote it down so that we already know what we are doing. We already know we're already seeing the table we're creating before we even see it. So right now we have this, but we have all of this being empty. So this glory, let me turn it to white. This glory or whatever we see here, they are all empty. We have this. This is what we have now, basically. Let me hide my grid lines. This is what we basically have hidden in this formula bar. Do I need to hide all those things? But basically, this is what we have now. So for us to have all this, which is the data, we have to insert this data inside this thing. So we're going to be using the insert into to do this. As in will I say a function? Yes, we're going to be using insert into to do something like this. So what have we been able to do? Have we been able to do anything in terms of the create tables and things like that?
Personally, I'm following, so maybe I will do later the videos,
Okay.
because at times I've realized when I go to my screen, maybe I've moved a step ahead, so it's a better for me to move as you move. So I've decided to follow, then maybe later I'll create. I don't know about the rest though.
So has anybody been able to follow up to here?
I'm following, sir, but I'm not typing immediately because I'm following. I'm not typing immediately.
Okay. No problem. No
I'm
problem. No
following up
problem.
to the point of create table and all, but I'm not typing like immediately. I get the idea behind everything. Up to the
Okay.
select statement, select from where you said you can't just type select and it comes up. You have to select from a table, and the table is the employee table. And I
Okay.
saw the return where you have it ID, employee name, and department. But without, I'm with you up to that point, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay. No problem. No problem. No problem. So I would assume we're all following. We're all good to go. So the next thing now, because of it works, like okay, we have been able to define a database or create a database, or create a table, and of course structured. So our table is not just random, like we are created a structure there. You can see under the tables, you can see our data types created. So the next thing now is okay, let us try to input a data. Oh, sorry.
Hello, sir.
Okay, sorry about that breaking transmission. Thank you.
No, I
So
just wanted to bring to your attention that time is quite moving, and it's on my side. It's getting late. Please.
okay, so thank you very much for that bringing that to notice, Glory. And I think so far so good. We'll be able to continue this in our next class. At time is far spent a bit. We have gone 15 minutes a bit above our time and everything, but we'll go into more details into all of this in our next class. So I hope I've been able to understand to a good degree. But even if to whatever level we understand, we'll continue from here in the next class and try our best to make everything more explanatory. Being the goal of this is that we want all of us to be able to get it. So we'll break it down as much as possible, and yeah, hopefully you get the best of the best, and your understanding is going to be top notch and everything. So I'd say from here, thank you very much for having patience with us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for um, everything. We're moving in a steady pace, and yeah, thank you all. I think in no time we'll be SQL rock stars. So thank you very much. We are pushing. I appreciate you guys.
Mr. Gosa,
Yeah.
please, the link to the video. I think I was asking this person earlier today. She said the videos are on YouTube.
So
The link,
for the
because I
videos.
went on YouTube, I typed Ocean Technologies, and it wasn't bringing anything useful to me.
So for the videos, okay, we'll be communicated in the group chat about the videos. We'll be able to get them. We'll be able to get them. Maybe I don't. I think maybe some editing needs to be done or something. Just do
Because
and
I think
send
it's
them
going
out to
to,
them.
personally for me, it's
Yeah.
going so that by Friday,
Yeah. We'll be able to get them. We'll be able to get them.
thank you,
We'll just work on
thank
that
you very
and
much, sir.
so thank you very much. We really appreciate that Posham Technologies. So have a nice I don't know what is evening you guys said, but it's evening here. So have a nice evening or have a nice night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. See you on Friday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
On my side, it's good morning.
Thank you very
Michelle.
much. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Kawira.